Dr. Hirsch, and this is EdCast, a program created and produced by educators for everyone interested in education. By now we know that education doesn't only occur in school settings or in front of a screen. It lives in new experiences and the joy of discovery beyond classroom walls. For over a century, the Fresh Air Fund has been opening doors for children from New York City, offering them opportunities to grow and learn in ways beyond what textbooks can provide. Join us today as we explore how the Fresh Air Fund redefines what learning looks like and why that matters. Now on EdCast. Joining me today is Lisa Gitelson, the Chief Executive Officer of the Fresh Air Fund. Throughout Lisa's career in public service, she has been dedicated to addressing the needs of underserved youth. Prior to joining the Fresh Air Fund, she was Assistant Executive Director and Legal Counsel for the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Previously, she served as Associate Executive Director at the Council of Family and Child Caring Agencies. She is also an adjunct professor at Silberman School of Social Work, Hunter College, CUNY, where she teaches the policy and practice of child welfare. Lisa also has a JD from Washington University School of Law. Thank you so much for joining us today on EdCast. I am really excited to be talking about the Fresh Air Fund and the programs that you offer, and it's very timely. So just give us first a little bit of background about the history of the Fresh Air Fund.
The Fresh Air Fund was created in 1877. We're 2 years away from being 150 years old, which we're quite proud of. We were founded out of the idea that youth in New York City needed access to the fresh air. It was actually during an epidemic, and there were some people in the city who felt it would be healthier to get kids out of the city. And since 1877, we've morphed in many different ways to the organization that we are today. All along, we have kept a focus on the youth of New York City and access to the outdoors and equity in making that happen.
Now, why is interacting with nature so important? Why do you stress that?
So the Fresh Air Fund, we know that access to the outdoors and activity in the outdoors does well for your mental health, for your emotional health, for your physical well-being. After COVID, I think most of the world kind of realized the access to the outdoors was so important to just being okay. This is something that I'm proud the Fresh Air Fund has always believed in. All of us know that getting some time outside impacts you in ways that are profound. It makes you feel happier, it makes you feel at one with the community, and it gives you some physical exercise as well.
I noticed in your literature that you refer to a nature gap. What is the nature gap?
So the nature gap is the gap for youth or anyone that doesn't have access to nature and the outdoors. It's actually been studied, and to not have access to the outdoors and to nature has an impact that is negative, mostly seen in mental health and emotional well-being.
Are there particular groups that we find are more deprived than others?
It's generally found in underserved communities. In New York City, the underserved communities are those that the Fresh Air Fund directly targets to make sure we're serving those youth. It's often based on race and economics.
Now, you've already alluded to this a little bit, but what would you say? I know you use the term nature deficit disorder. What happens to kids who never interact with nature?
There's absolutely some depression. There's some anxiety that comes along with that. There's a lack of socialization that really you want to make sure young kids are being part of. So
they really feel a sense of deprivation in some way. Now, you talk also about environmental racism. What's that exactly?
Environmental racism is the inability for people of color to have access to the outdoors and nature that exists throughout this country and throughout the world. And it exists in New York City, and that's part of what the Fresh Air Fund looks to bring equity to.
So how do you specifically address that?
We, through a lot of study and looking at data, work in communities and neighborhoods where we know there are youth that don't have access to the outdoors. We partner with community partners in those neighborhoods, and we do outreach to the families and youth of those neighborhoods in a really targeted way, because we want to make sure we're serving the youth that most would benefit from what we provide.
So I would imagine that when some of these kids arrive at camp, that it's an adjustment. What do you say are some of the challenges that kids face when they come to camp?
Sure. So it's certainly different to sleep in a bunk, which feels a little bit like you're in the outdoors. You might be swimming for the first time in a lake. You might be eating communally in a dining hall for the first time. We do a tremendous amount of prep with the youth when they are coming up to camp. The first day of camp, the Fresh Air Fund staff is ready for these kinds of questions and perhaps these kinds of nerves. And they're trained, the staff at the Fresh Air Fund is trained to address these and to talk really openly with youth. We also try to maintain as high a ratio of staff who've been in our programs, because often we know that those that have come to our programs are our best ambassadors and the best people to work with the youth. So all of that together.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that group in a moment, but so I'm just curious about the kids. When they come, I imagine, do any of them have anxiety just being away from home?
Sure, like any kid who goes to sleepaway camp, kids who come to the Fresh Air Fund camps are going to have some homesickness, and being in a new place, not knowing anyone, it kind of throws you off balance. And if you imagine being 8 years old or 10 years old and having this new experience, it can make you kind of anxious. And the Fresh Air Fund staff is really aware this is going to happen.
Well, I like to hear from the kids themselves. So we have a video of a very satisfied customer. So let's roll that video.
The Fresh Air Fund is an amazing organization that gives kids the opportunity to come together in a safe and warm and welcoming space to have fun and grow and learn.
They allow us to do more eventful and exciting activities that you don't do normally in the city.
Camp makes it so comfortable for you to be you.
When you're with people overnight for an extended amount of time, it just helps you get to know them.
Have different experiences and learn new things.
Some people don't get chances to do a lot of things like outdoors.
You don't get to go in the mountains and see that amazing view every day.
You're surrounded by the trees, it's fresh air.
Getting out of your comfort zone is a good thing.
I was really shy, but coming here I felt comfortable being myself.
Makes you more aware of people's feelings.
You'll acquire new skills.
The counselors are really fun.
They always keep me on the right track.
It felt like an adventure because there was a lot of stuff that I haven't done before in my life. I'm definitely coming back this year.
I love that kid. I'm definitely coming back. I thought that was so cute. So let's talk about the parents for a minute. You say you recruit among families. Is there any hesitancy among the parents, and what are their hesitancies about?
There's absolutely hesitancy for some parents. Being separated from your child for the first time can feel worrisome. Trusting other people to care for your child can be worrisome. I would say a little bit in this political climate, families are especially worried about being separated from their kids and what that might mean. And you're trusting that someone who you don't know is going to take excellent care of your child. And while we can promise that's what's going to happen, that can feel pretty scary to a parent.
So how do you address some of those insecurities that parents have?
We do it in a number of ways. We have a lot of open houses that are virtual and in person for families to come and talk to us. I think one of the most effective ways is we bring parent ambassadors. And if you're a parent who's already sent your child to one of our programs, you're really the kind of person that can talk to parents and say, I also felt that and here's what happened. And I deeply appreciate the partnership we have with the parents who work with us.
So, I mean, are there any cultural barriers as well? I know when I tell some of my friends that I went to sleepaway camp or that my son did, they're shocked because in their family culture, no one ever went to sleepaway camp. Is that ever?
Absolutely. There's definitely different cultural norms of what we do with our kids during the summer. And in New York City, there are many cultures who going to camp is not kind of the norm, and
right.
The parents might not have done it. They're, so sending their kids seems quite, unusual. And for some parents, I think it also feels like they're not being responsible, like somehow they're going to be judged that they're not taking good care of their youth. One of the things I also talk to parents about, and I mean this sincerely, is it is good for kids to have time away from parents, and it's good for parents to also have a break. I went to camp as a kid. I worked at camp as a kid. My kids went to camp. My kids worked at camp. I remember the first summer both my kids were going to be at camp. They kept saying to me, what are you going to do? And I kept saying, I'm going to figure it out. It's going to be okay. And it is. It's going to be okay. And I tell parents that it will be okay. And everybody comes back with new things they've learned about themselves in a lovely way.
Oh, don't worry about me. I'll figure it out. Bye. So let me ask you then about the effects on families of having this participation in these programs. What does this do?
Youth come home and they have new skills, and they also just feel a different sense of themselves. And that's a beautiful thing. Kids have experienced new activities, they've tried new things, they've tried things that felt uncomfortable maybe, they've eaten foods that might be different than they eat at home, they've made friends that are different than the friends than they had at home. And they come back with this different view of themselves, this more sense of who they are. They often also come back with a real love of the outdoors, and they come home and their parents can see they've matured and blossomed and become a little bit more of who they're going to be. And they'll also often find themselves being dragged to the outdoors in lovely ways. Your youth that comes home and really wants to be, fishing, or wants to go swimming, or wants to go ice skating, or just wants to be outside. And a lot of our families ask when they can come to camp. I always want to go to camp too. I mean, I'm lucky to work up there, but it's an incredible opportunity to experience camp.
Now, people watching, I'm sure, are thinking, how do you get to participate? So how do you choose participants?
So we both do recruiting. We do recruiting in communities, and there's a lot of word of mouth about our programs. So youth apply by going to our website. Their families apply by going to our website. We review the applications. In some ways, it's going to be a first come, first serve. We really encourage people to apply early. We do get filled up at some point in the year.
Are you looking for anything specific among the applicants?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We're looking for youth that are in the right age group, that live and go to school in New York City and meet our funding requirements. So for us, the simplest way to say it is that if your family is eligible for food assistance, you're going to be eligible to come to our programs. And coming to our programs means they are completely without cost to you or your family. So really the three eligibility requirements are that you live and go to school in New York City and your family is eligible for food assistance.
I was surprised to see how many different locations you have and that you have different camps. So just give us a little bit of a sketch of the various camps. I know you have Junior, Tommy, Hidden Valley, and probably more. So just tell us a little bit about what those camps are set up for.
Sure. We have 6 camps. They're set up for different age groups. And starting this year, we are having themes for each of the camp. For next year, each of the camps will have curriculum. And people get nervous when I say curriculum that they think it might be like math and science. We're going to have summer camp curriculum that's in alignment with the themes of each camp. And also that grows year to year. So when I'm 8 years old, I know I'm going to do this, which is going to build on my being a 9-year-old and so forth. We also have a new version of one of our camps, which is Camp Tommy. Camp Tommy is specifically our leadership camp.
Oh.
And anyone who's a CIT will be at that camp, a counselor in training. And we're having really specific, exciting curriculum. And our goal is to build the next leadership of the Fresh Air Fund and of New York City. Like, we hope most of these youth will come and work for us, but we also imagine they're going to be the next leaders of the city we all love.
Are these camps co-ed?
Some of them are co-ed and some of them are single-gendered.
And which ones?
So
can you request as a family which one you want, or do you just assign?
When you apply to come to camp, there's descriptions of each of the camps, and the families can apply to, they rank the camps in the order they'd like to have their youth be there.
Oh. And where are the camps?
So 5 of the camps are in Fishkill, New York, on a very large property we have. This is a really good way to describe it, but it's about 2,000 acres. And just as reference, Central Park is about 700 acres. So if you can imagine kind of 3 central parks, that's the space that we have for those 5 camps. A 6th camp is at Harriman State Park, right by Bear Mountain. So
Sure.
People who know Bear Mountain know where that camp is.
I do.
And those are where the 6 camps are. If you are at one of the 5 camps on our main property, which is called Sharp, you're never going to see the other camps. We have so much space that you will just feel like you're at your camp, and that's special.
Was that land donated to the, can I ask who?
Yeah, the original approximately 1,000 acres came from Dr. Sharp. Dr. Sharp felt strongly that he didn't want to pass on his accumulated wealth to family, that he thought everybody should pull themselves up on their own.
Who was Dr. Sharp?
He was a doctor,
a physician?
Upstate. Yeah,
Upstate,
he was.
okay.
And he gave us the original 1,000 acres. Over time, we've gotten other donations, and we've purchased some of the land as well. On the land, originally we didn't have these, but now we have 2 lakes, very large lakes. One's 30,000 acres, the other's 40,000.
Kids learn to swim in the lake?
In the lake.
Okay.
One of the camps has a pool, but the other camps are all swimming on the lake.
We won't talk about me learning to swim in the lake. Let's just go on from there. Okay, let's talk about the summer slide, because one of the things we're interested in on EdCast, of course, is how are you helping kids academically? So let's talk a little bit about how you address kids' learning needs in the programs.
We believe that there's a lot of ways to learn, and some of the ways to learn are to do new activities so you learn about your capacity. Okay. And people ask me, how will I know a Fresh Air Fund youth if they're in a classroom? And I will say it's the youth the student who's willing to try new things, who's raising their hand, who's asking good questions, and who's participating. We encourage that type of behavior. We want the kids that come to the Fresh Air Fund to meaningfully participate, to push themselves, to meet new people, and to ask questions. And we believe all of that translates into a student who's stronger when they return back to school.
Now, we have a video about some of the things that kids actually learn at the camp. So let's take a look at that.
Get to make like new friends, have different experiences, and learn new things. We do a lot of activities.
Drama and swimming.
Martial arts and music production.
Arts and crafts. Architecture.
I have creative writing, music, and photography.
This time at art, we actually had some shirts. We used dye colors to paint our shirts.
We sing chants. Who rocks the camp? We say the Wickpeas rocks the camp. And when the Wickpeas rocks the camp, we rock it all the way down.
I like my counselors.
When I was homesick, the counselors would really help you. They would give you time to talk about it, but also give you time to rethink and have time by yourself.
So different camps, do they all offer different things? Or so tell me. So
there's some overlap and there's some different things. Camp Mariah is our career awareness program camp, and it was founded originally with a very generous donation from Mariah Carey. The youth who go to that camp, and she continues to support the camp, and we're quite grateful. The youth who go to that camp are rising sixth graders, and it's a 3-year commitment to them that they're going to continue to come to the camp. And year-round, they also do mentoring, they do job shadowing, they do different kinds of educational trainings to get ready for their careers. So Camp Mariah is focused on that, and they also do like swimming and arts and crafts and all the regular kinds of camp things. As I spoke, Camp Tommy is really going to focus on leadership and how to become the next leaders. At other camps, every kid is going to learn to swim or do the best we can to get them to learn to swim. They're going to learn to play, every kid will play piano, every kid will play guitar. And then there is all those other, like there's drama.
Every kid will play piano.
Every kid will play piano and guitar. We have an amazing partnership with an organization called ASCAP that puts music teachers in our camps and embeds them. Kids are going to do drama, they're going to do like very interesting and different kinds of arts and crafts. They're going to play sports they might not have played before. One of the things kids love the most that we hear about at end of year survey is a game called Gaga, which kids don't play in New York City schools very much, and they love to learn even like a new game.
Now you also do things, I have here a list that chess and checkers, computer programming, environmental science, mad science. What's mad science?
Mad science is, kind of for the younger kids to do really fun science experiments.
So do you feel they make cognitive gains over the summer?
I have absolutely no doubt that they make huge cognitive gains over the summer, and they come back to their school settings advanced from where they were last when they were there.
What do you think makes your program so effective?
I think the deep belief that the outdoors can impact each of us, and engagement in outdoors and relationships with others is what our focus, and it's been such a laser focus for almost 150 years. I always talk about the Fresh Air Fund does fresh air really well. Like, I think having a focus, staying within that focus, and becoming really, I like to believe we're the best at it. And that we're going to offer that to the youth who experience our programs.
And do you think it has something to do with the size and the way the kids are grouped together to get a kind of, it seems to me a camaraderie must be built
I think that's part of it. I also think the training that we do for our staff and making sure that our staff are dedicated, they're supported, and truly too that they have the tools they need. Like I kind of talk about, like, instead of a vicious cycle, the positive cycle, right? Like if staff are trained to do their work well, youth are going to have a wonderful experience, which makes staff happy, and it just keeps going on and on.
Okay, let's talk about that training. Some of your counselors are teens themselves, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so how do you train them?
So actually, our camp directors, camp is going to start on June 27th. All of our camp directors will be at camp by Monday, and they're beginning to start their orientations for all of the staff from June 1st until June 27th when the kids get off the bus. Different layers of orientation and training and on like actual learning will happen, and they will spend like the next 4 weeks training and teaching their staff what they need to know to be successful.
And do you give them any training on dealing with homesickness or getting kids to engage in activities?
Sure, we do training both on homesickness, on how to engage the quieter child. We have training about mental health. We have training about ages and stages. I mean, really, we want to give counselors a full picture of who a youth is and the kids they're going to be working with.
So we have a brief video of leaders talking about what that's like.
Leadership to me means to step up and to be an example for people looking up to you and to be a voice and an advocate for people looking up to you.
In order to be a leader, sometimes you do have to follow the path of someone else.
When I think of a leader, I think of somebody making the correct moves, knowing that he has people watching him, and I never saw that before, like how much they look up to you.
Gaining the respect of the campers and how to create those boundaries of the campers. I'm really glad I was able to do that. Now they get to take it out of camp.
Being able to care for them, that's such a new experience for me. That connection is amazing.
So many of these leaders are former participants. Are they all former participants?
They're not all former participants. Our goal is to have about 30% of the participants become. 30% of those who are leaders have been participants.
What do you see as the greatest value of that, and why do you encourage that?
Just the knowledge of what it felt like to be able to say to a youth, I know what this was happening. I live where you lived. My mom also was nervous when she said goodbye to me. I didn't love, like the first day it was scary, and in 3 days you're going to feel differently. I know how hard that is. It's a real value to have lived experience.
How many kids are served altogether for a summer?
Over the whole summer this year, it'll be about 2,200 youth that we serve.
That's wonderful. And what do you see as the long-term benefits of participation?
So we do actually have research and evaluation of our work.
Ask you about research and evaluation.
Yeah. we actually have a research and evaluation. We call it a department. It's one person. During the summer, she has some interns. But we do have research and evaluation. And when kids start at camp, we do some surveying. We do surveying at the end of the summer. We do that with the parents, both before and after. And we have goals. Like we have actual KPIs that we're looking for. We want to make sure what we think we're offering is actually what people take away. And we do a lot of measurement.
And what kinds of, we're running out of time, you can believe it or not, but what kinds of things are you seeing? What kinds of things are you measuring in terms of nature, in terms of mental health? What are you seeing?
We're seeing kids saying they're more willing to try new things. We're seeing kids say, I'm excited to make new friends and meet new people when I go home. And kids are across the board saying, I feel more connected to the outdoors and I want to remain connected to the outdoors.
Is there, I know you go for this, is there a greater sense of confidence or self-esteem or?
Absolutely, there is, without question, and we hear this from parents all the time, but we also see it in the results of all of our surveying.
Now, before we end with one really final video, I just want to ask you, what do you do year-round, or do you do anything year-round to maintain this bond with the kids who come to camp?
We have year-round programming for the youth. This year, I'm really excited. We're kicking off a new year-round program that's about connecting youth to the outdoors of New York City with mentors. We believe that there's outdoors all over New York City. It's all year round, and we want you to come to us in the summer, and we'll get you to the outdoors. And the rest of the year, we want the youth of New York City to feel a sense of agency of the outdoors that is theirs.
And where do people go to find out about participating? We'll put that up on screen. So Where should people go?
Freshair.org, and this will get you to all of our programs. If you want to be a participant, if you'd like to work for us, if you want to be a lifeguard, if you want to be a counselor, you want to go to the freshair.org website.
So we're going to show one final video that I believe you call the Power of Fun, and I think that's a great video to end with. So let's take a look.
With new challenges comes new growth.
I learned that I had a voice.
I'm more confident now.
It's helped me break out of my shell.
And it's helped me be more open about myself.
My daughter, she went to camp and she went out one person and came back another.
They show you who you can be.
The joy that I see with, what we offer, so that's what really keeps me here and keeps me connected.
This idea of kids come first, I see that really embodied in the staff.
Summer can last a lifetime. We're making core memories with them.
I already had some of them tell me they want to work here, and I'm like, of course you want to work here. I used to go here too. I was where you were. So hopefully I have the same impact, and then we could just keep it going, and Fresh Air Fun will be here forever.
To me, this video really says so much about what this experience can do. In the little time that we have left, what would you want my viewers, our viewers, to take away from this experience? Would you like, are you also still seeking contributions? Let's just talk about all those things.
Yes, we exist because of the generosity of donors, and absolutely we're always appreciative and grateful for donations. I want people to know that a summer at the Fresh Air Fund or any programs with the Fresh Air Fund is going to, first of all, be safe. It is, second of all, going to be joyful. And third of all, you are going to walk away knowing more about who you are, having more confidence in yourself, having a deeper belief in all that you are capable of, and a love of the outdoors. And I think that's true whether you're a participant as a youth, or you're a summer employee, or you're me. I think all of us feel deeply connected to the world that we live in and the outdoors, and to each other because we have this experience.
Thank you so much for sharing this information with us. Lisa Gitelson, the CEO of the Fresh Air Fund. That's it for this edition of EdCast. Hope you have a wonderful summer, and we'll see you in the fall.
Thank you.
We'd like to hear from you. Please send your thoughts and comments to cunyedcast@gmail.com.